First is sponsored by Gillette, the best a man can get.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jen Wolf. That is the Hall of Famer, Chris Carter. This right here is Nick Wright. Guys, we got a great show today. Lots of good things. The Lakers off-season not quite going as planned. Wait till you hear the latest with that. Giannis and the Bucks bounce back in Game 2 as predicted, but we're going to start with the late game out
west. You guys did the wife swap. Y'all got y'all's outfits coordinated. That was nice. I like it. Let's get this thing cracking.
We will discuss later. Rockets, we might discuss later. Rockets Warriors Game 2. Remember, Houston trying to even up this series. Scary moment early on. James Harden had his eye basically gouged by Draymond Green. He'd leave and return. He complained of blurry vision after the game. He finished with 29. Wasn't enough to beat the defending champs. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson combined for only 41 points, but Kevin Durant gave you 29, 5, and 4. Wasn't the 40 we had seen, but it was 29. Warriors win 115-109. They now take a 2-0 series lead. Here's Kevin Durant after the game.
Well, definitely want to take care of home, especially after how last series went, losing 2 of them at home. So I think we're just a little bit more focused to finish games, no matter if we were up 15 and they still cut it down. And I think I love how we stayed poised through it all. You know, I think we only was able to do that because what we went through in the first series. And, you know, so glad that we was able to finish it out at home, but we know these guys are even more dangerous at their crib. So us on the road, they're even more dangerous.
All right, Nick, we kept talking all about the officiating coming into this game. This doesn't seem to be the theme coming out of this game. How did the Warriors take care of the Rockets in Game 2?
And credit to the officials. The officials were not part of the storyline. They did a great job. It was a fairly officiated game and a well-called game. But to answer your question, they came out ready to play, and the Rockets did not. Rockets down 15 points halfway through the first quarter. From that moment forward, they outplayed the Warriors. They tied them in the second quarter. They won the third quarter. They won the fourth quarter. But when you start the game in the first quarter with 9 turnovers, when you allow 8 offensive rebounds in the first quarter for your opposition, when they're not a great offensive rebounding team, when you're sloppy with the ball, when you only make 2 two-point field goals in the first quarter, and your opponent, the 2-time defending champ, they're the team that comes out hungrier. They're the team that comes out more desperate. They're the team that comes out where every defensive possession, it's rotations and people meeting you at the rim. To be totally honest, you deserve to lose. The Rockets were fortunate to be in the game after the first quarter, to be in the game at halftime, to have it within 3 points late in the fourth quarter because they didn't have the sense of urgency the moment required, and they didn't come out like a team that felt that the way they had spoken the days leading up to the game. We should have won Game 1. We were the better team Game 1. They came out like a lazy January game. Okay. And now they got into it. But you can't give the Warriors 6 minutes to build a lead. You can't give this team an edge in that building. So the Rockets had legitimate complaints after Game 1, and they undercut a lot of that with how they came out in Game 2. The Warriors played fine. They didn't play a great offensive game. Steph struggled again. KD was the least efficient he's been in this entire incredible 6-game stretch, and the Rockets couldn't take advantage because early in the game they were throwing the ball all over the gym, and they're letting Alfonso McKinney get tip dunks on putbacks because nobody's boxing out. This is a really disappointing effort in the first quarter for the Rockets. They weren't able to overcome it.
Yeah, they didn't make the type of adjustment you would expect in game number 2. You would expect a little more desperation from the Rockets in game number 2 because you don't want to go down with the Warriors having the home court advantage. But I like the fact that Kevin Durant talked about some of the things in series number 1 that was a problem for them against the Clippers. Number 1 thing was losing at home. So that was an emphasis for them coming in. We're going to make sure that we protect home court. And they came out because this is not about playing great basketball. This is about being efficient under the most amount of pressure and be able to get to your spot on the court and be able to make shots. You got to give a lot of respect to Golden State because coming into this game, yeah, all the conversation about the referees, I didn't think the game would be about the referees. They had 3 veteran refs in there because ultimately the guys on the court are going to make the difference. Houston, with Harden being injured earlier, man, they were kind of lost there for a little bit. Their bench, actually, if there's something to be encouraged about, their bench after 2 games, because Rivers was hurt in game number 1, didn't play. You could see them missing that. But they struggle offensively if Harden is not playing at his highest level. And to me, it's hard to be a championship team when your number 1 threat is James Harden, and the way that people are playing him in the playoffs, where it's becoming harder and harder for him to score or be as efficient as he was during the regular season.
Yeah, there's no way you can rely on that bench and the role players as a sustainable way of staying in this series. But we'll talk much more about James Harden, but between his injury and however that limits him, and the fact that this team is now down 0-2, is there any chance the Rockets can make this a competitive series now?
Yeah, they have to go and take care of home. Game 3 becomes a must-win, and assuming they win Game 3, Game 4 is close to a must-win. The only reason you would say it's not is because we have seen teams come back from 3-1 down. But they obviously have to win Game 3, and what they need is, I thought Harden played a much smarter game in Game 2 despite the eye injury. He was obviously more efficient. He went to the rim when it was available to him. And the Rockets, you said before the game, that they need to try to get Clint Capella more involved. They did get him more involved, but it wasn't very successful. What I think they are realizing, and what we've realized after 2 games, is Kevin Durant, as a rim defender against Clint Capella, he wins that matchup. We think they're undersized when they start the Hamptons 5 because Draymond is the center in name. But Kevin Durant becomes the guy who is meeting Clint Capella at the rim. Clint Capella is not much stronger than Durant. He's not any taller than Durant. And Clint Capella got dominated in his matchup last night, and it didn't help that the Rockets, while Austin Rivers was good off the bench, Daniel House, who had been one of their top reserves, he played 5 minutes early and then was relegated to the bench for the rest of the game because he wouldn't box people out because he wasn't doing his job. Iman Shumpert came in the game, and he thought he had the neon green light. 4 minutes, 4 3-point attempts, go to the bench. So the Rockets can do things better. I thought Harden played really well. I thought the eye didn't affect him that much. I thought that his defense was actually quite good. He was above his season percentages on 3s and 2s in this game. So I don't have any beef with how Harden played. But the Rockets, you can't beat the Warriors if they out-rebound you, and if you turn the ball over more than them, you're not going to be able to beat them.
But this is also why the Warriors are so good, because Durant doesn't go for 40, he just goes for 29. But, then you have Steph Curry, and he doesn't have a great night. But, then you have Klay Thompson, who finally got his shots and stepped up. You can keep going down the line, and the Rockets just don't have the same depth after Chris Paul. It just doesn't seem to be all fitting together.
Right, they don't have the same depth, but you're off to a good start when you got KD, Steph, and Klay. But to me, the difference in this is the Hampton 5. Andre Iguodala, man, somehow has found the fountain of youth. Leads the NBA in 8 playoff games. He's got 19 dunks. Now, he's something with his legs. He didn't have these legs during the regular season. Draymond looks like he's lost 20 pounds. Both of their scoring averages. Iguodala, his point total is doubled in the playoffs. Draymond is back shooting the ball, distributing the ball, and Houston doesn't have an answer for them. When they try to trap in the pick and roll, they give the ball to Draymond at the top of the key or at the free throw line. He is orchestrating the offense from there, and they are taking the Rockets apart. To your Clint Capella, the reason why he doesn't match up well is because he doesn't have a post game.
Right.
He does not have.
All he has is the lobs.
That's all he's got. It's hard to be physical when you're in the air.
Right.
So Kevin Durant can match him there. So it's going to be, to me, Houston needs to be very, very careful. Because we talked about last year's chance and this year's opportunity. People say, oh, Houston's better this year. Well, let me tell you something. I don't think they're better. Matched up against Golden State, seeing 2 games. And let's not forget last year, they got the 3 wins. So to me, last year, was that really the best opportunity? And now looking at with them down 2-0, I would agree with what my opinion was several days ago, that last year's opportunity, I believe, was the one that they missed out on.
Last year's opportunity could end up being the best opportunity they have, even if this ends up being the best team that they've had. But yeah, you can't just toss the ball down to Capella and ask him to go to work. His only offensive move is a tip in or a lob. Or when James Harden on pick and roll, he rolls the basket in the lob. But to your point on the Hamptons 5, the numbers are jarring on it. Just look at it. They played 96 minutes in the series, 48 with the Hamptons 5, 48 with any other lineup. They are dominating the Rockets on the offensive end and overall with the Hamptons 5, and the Rockets are beating them with any other lineup out there. The difference between this year and this series and previous years is they were never playing the Hamptons 5 half the minutes. You would see the Hamptons 5 in key moments. You'd see them for the final 6 to 8 minutes of a game. But if they're able to play, if that is sustainable, if you can play those 5 guys in half your minutes, and they're starting the series as they did in Game 1 with those 5 guys. They didn't go to that until, I think, Game 4 of last year's series. Yeah, the Rockets are in trouble. On Draymond and Iggy, Draymond's got an all-time great NBA quote. He said there are 82-game players and there's 16-game players. I'm a 16-game player. He and, meaning 82-game regular season, 16 wins you need for the playoffs. He and Iguodala right now look like they were operating in second gear throughout the regular season, and they revved it all the way up to 5th for this series. Iguodala had the first 3 free throws baskets of the game for the Warriors, and they were fine with it. Those 2 guys have been great in this series.
All right, Warriors jump out to a 2-0 lead in that series. Coming up, we'll talk about the other big game of the night. Did Giannis and the Bucks figure out the game plan for taking down the Celtics? That's next on FS1, and you can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We'll be right back.